Today, I'm going to read from one of my favorite parables, uh, Luke 18, verses 1 through 8. And Jesus spoke a parable unto them to this end, to teach them that men ought to always pray and never to faint, saying, There was in a city a judge, which did not fear God, neither regarded men. And there was a widow in that city, and she came unto him, saying, Avenge me of my adversary. And for a while he would not. But afterward he said within himself, Though I fear God, nor regard men, yet because this woman troubles me, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she wearies me. And the Lord said, Hear what the unjust judge says. And shall not God avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bears long with them? I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man comes, shall he find faith on the earth? I love how he says this parable is basically saying, he spoke this parable that men ought to always pray and not to faint. There are other versions that says men ought to always pray and not give up. Like, don't lose strength. Don't be weary. Don't allow the distress to take over. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. And he uses a widow as an example. And I always wondered why God would use widow, or Jesus used widows as examples and other things. But a widow was, pretty much in that time, and even now, really helpless. She had a husband that died, and if the husband was the one supporting the family, and he dies, and you get left with no support. And if you're at a certain age where you can't remarry, then you just have no, you have to cling to God more. Like orphans and widows, fatherless and widows, they're in a position where they had to cling to God more. And this widow is going to this judge just continually. And eventually the judge is just like, you know what, just because I want this woman to leave me alone, I'm going to do what she's asking. And here's what the Lord says. He says, do you hear what this unjust judge says? And won't God avenge his own elect, which cry unto him day and night, even though he bears long with them? It's like this judge that was hearing this widow, he just answered her because he was annoyed. But God, he not only hears us, but he is afflicted by our affliction. He hears and feels what we feel. He's not like an earthly judge that's just trying to execute a judgment because he doesn't want to be bothered anymore. He's actually, whatever he's hearing from us, pleading with him, he's feeling as well. So if we understand that, that's why it says, I tell you, he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man comes, shall he find faith in the earth? Will we believe that not only is God 100 times, a million times better than this unjust judge, but that he actually not only is hearing us and pleading our case because we're continually coming before him, but also because he is compassionate and loves us and feels what we feel, and he hurts when we hurt. He bears long with us. So we can trust when we go to God that we should never give up, because at some point he is going to hear. He's going to free us from our affliction. He wants to. And the only thing that's withholding that is whatever the Lord, the time, it has to come to complete. The fruit has to come to full maturity before it can be plucked. You can trust the time. Don't give up. Just trust the time and believe, have faith that it's not time yet. You're not ready. Even though you might feel like you're ready and you might believe you're ready, trust that if you were ready, God would have already relieved you of your distress. So put your hope in him, trust in him, and don't give up.